Okay, I don't have a whole lot to go over today. I just have a couple, 3 or 4 visual aids to possibly look at. Next week, Monday, we're certainly going to review. And Tuesday, I think we'll give you time to review as well. So 2-part exam on Wednesday and or Thursday. So as you would guess, it is quite large. There'll be probably 15 to 20 multiple choice questions, and could be any of your vocabulary terms all in one. I would venture to think that on your papers there were 45 terms, but it'd be we could also add more to that if it's something that we had talked about perhaps in class, because and you've heard this before, if we knew it at one time last week, we'll know it next week as well, okay? Hopefully that makes some sense. Like some of these visual aids that I'm talking about it's one thing to look at a diagram in a book, but if it's something you actually hold, I had some plastic bags that were covering these models up. I didn't even realize that we had them. But what would you guess this is? Nope, it would be much smaller than that. Pancreas? No. If we opened it up like this, all them wrinkles in there, it shows you that in the diagram in your book too. It's called rugae or rogue, I believe is what it's called. That's one of the identifications that we would want you to know as well. But if this has an opening on the top and on the bottom, that might give you a better clue. What type of gland and or organ would have a structure with 2 openings, one on the top, one on the bottom? Nothing? It would sit about right here. It's the stomach. That's right. Okay? So probably back in that corner saying, I knew what that was, I just didn't say it. Is that correct? Okay? So when we look at this structure, it's got what we call 2 curvatures. It's got a larger curvature on top here and a lesser curvature down here. You've got 2 openings. What's the one that's on top?
Is that like real size of your stomach?
No, I would say it's a little bigger than this.
I was like, that's way too.
Top opening. Cardiac opening. What's the bottom then? Pyloric opening. Okay? Then with a lot of times, it can apply to organs as well as bone structures. When you look at this bone in the rib cage, it's called the sternum, but it's got 3 parts to it. Is there any way you might remember those from last spring? The manubrium's on top. The body is in the middle. Xiphoid process is on the bottom. But sometimes it can pertain to bones, it can pertain to organs as well. It'd be the body of the stomach. That's the major bulk that we would see here. So you have the greater curvature, the lesser curvature. You got 2 openings, wrinkles in here called rugae. Okay? And then that would do it for this stomach. What would this look like to you? Large and small intestine, okay? So when we look at this, what we would want to refer to this as it's coming from your stomach, it enters into this portion here, and that first portion of this small intestine would be called what? duodenum or duodenum. And somewhere in here, under all these folds, it's supposed to resemble the letter J. And then the second portion, there's really no set way you would be able to look at this and say, I think that it's right here, because as this comes from your stomach, it starts to wind its way down, it comes up and around. This, I would believe, is where the second portion starts. Jejunum, okay? And then finally it winds its way through here and gets closer to the large intestine. The last portion is called what? Okay? And then what is the opening between the two? Ileocecal valve, okay? And it doesn't show the omentum here very much, but this is much a living organ as well, because it has its own blood supply that holds your intestines actually in place. And when we think of the large intestine, we have this, the first portion, which we call the ascending colon, okay? And then typically in geometrical terms, what does it mean when you make a 90-degree angle, do you think? Starts with a T. I think that's how you look at it. If you transect something, is that 90 degrees? Okay, so this is ascending colon, transverse colon, okay, for transecting it. And then what might this be? If this is ascending, this would be your descending colon. Then eventually you get back here, which would be the rectum, then is this structure right here, where waste products are finally going to be removed from the body. Okay? And what might this be? Okay? And then what is it that would sit right behind the liver? You can just see parts of it right here. Yeah, that's your gallbladder. And it's one thing to look at this in a book, but it's another thing and that's why it takes so long to become a surgeon, okay? Because you're going to go through your 4 years of pre-medical biology major, or you say I'm a pre-med major, then you go through 4 years of medical school, then you would perhaps go through maybe 5 years of residency, and then finally, after becoming a residential doctor, you become what's called an attending physician or attending surgeon, which means then legally, I think it's where you operate without being under supervision. But you get the idea that when you're looking at the models like this, there's a lot of intricate anatomy that this looks different than what's actually in your book, because you can actually see this, hold it, feel it, and actually observe it, okay? Because when we look at this structure that's coming out of the gallbladder, it starts with a C. It's a tube, it's a cystic duct, okay? But one of the things that doesn't show up here is, if we look at our fingers, if we split it like this, okay? So now, if we turn it like this, which side is the right? Which side is the left? This side's the left? This side's the left. Okay? Because remember, you got to be looking at a mirror image, so as we look at it like this side then is the right, okay? Even though we know that this is our left hand. This is the right side, this is the left side, and you have a right and a left what? Hepatic ducts, okay? Then when the hepatic ducts come together, that's got a specific name to it as well. Common hepatic duct combining with the cystic duct coming out of here. Now you have all that coming together to form the bile duct, common bile duct, either or. There's a lot of intricate anatomy that, of course, goes with that. And we'll go further in depth with that at a later time. So we'll be reviewing on Monday. We'll be probably reviewing on Tuesday because I think you have an away volleyball game on Tuesday. It's all the way to, was it Canastota?
Can I have another one of those
Okay.
vocab sheets? I've lost mine.
Okay, so we will get that to you. Yes, we can certainly do that. Okay, so individuals, you just walked in, we handed in our papers, and I will collect them. But as far as today for talking over things, we just wanted to go over some of these structures here. And then I have something that I always show at the somewhere during this chapter, and I will get that on the overhead here shortly. Okay, so next week, busy week for everybody, just like it is, whether it's for Algebra 2, this class, chemistry, they're always busy. So, and next week will be no exception. So we'll catch up to you next time.